Welcome to this edition of the $1 Million Mastermind Podcast. This is where we pick the brains of high achievers from all walks of life and get their hard-earned, real-world insights on winning. I'm your host, Larry Weidel.
Talk about that. Explain that and dig into that for us.
I always tell people, I have a lot of people, older and younger, who will come to my office and they'll ask me under closed doors. I don't know if they need mentorship, Larry. I'm not exactly sure. It seems like everybody's going through something. I had a 57-year-old in my office the other day, and it was just me and him in my office, and he was telling me about his hardships. And without telling his business, he was doing a lot of things wrong. And it wasn't that he was doing anything really, really bad. But I explained to him like this. I said, buddy, I walk the straight line. And let me explain to you what I mean by that. I said, I'm a faithful married man. I'm faithful in my faith. So I just always tell people, because it makes me emotional, if you're doing the right things, I just truly feel good things will happen. Now, here's the funny thing. Bad things will still happen all the time too.
Yeah.
But it's nothing that we can't handle. Yeah. But when I started really committing to not only myself, but to others, years ago, before we ever had children, I was giving money to schools. I would be Super Fitness Business or my wife's the A-Team. We would be on banners at almost every school. I bet I've wrote 25 checks, Larry, of small amounts, nothing crazy, in the past 2 months. I'm on every ball field from Greensboro to Raleigh, cheerleading uniforms. Sometimes I donate and tell them, you don't even got to put my logo on there. And me and my wife just do it out of place of helping, giving to the church, little things like that. People are so tunnel vision, they want to control their finances themselves. And they are like, mine. And I was always the first to be like, we're out to dinner and pay for everybody, even when I was broke. And people remember things like that. But I also think just doing the right things, like, for instance, I don't ride in a car with another woman without my wife. You'll usually always see my wife. And it's not that I would be worried at all about another woman or myself. I just don't put myself in the line of fire or in any kind of temptation without my wife. I don't even want to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And so I've been talked to many successful people, and they always apply little things. And I think this honestly just comes from my fitness background of Larry being so disciplined. The mind is so strong that if you put the bad things in the mind, then so many other little things can start going wrong. Yeah. So I keep my mind, the mind is so powerful that if you keep that rock solid, you can propel yourself so far in life.
Yeah. And the thing is, people will say, yeah, I would do that too if I was super successful, but they don't understand, if you don't do it on the way up, you're never going to get to be super successful. You know, you can't, there's never that moment you say, okay, I'm super successful, I'll start giving back now.
100%. I told a guy yesterday, I said, he had said a comment to me, and he's a good friend of mine. And I said to him, you're doing all this wrong. And he looked at me like a deer in headlights. And I said to him, when you start doing stuff out of a place of want to help and want to give, from a place in your heart of free giving, then you're probably going to be propelled to the next level. I said, until you do that, you are not going to go no further than you already are.
Yeah.
And he really thought about it and appreciated what I said, because I'm not one, I'm actually kind of like Adam. I'm not one that's going to give you the warm and fuzzies, Larry. I'm the one that's going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And Some people like that, some people don't. For the most part, most people can't take the truth. They want someone to make them feel warm and fuzzy, whereas I'm going to tell you what you need to hear.
Yeah. Adam, when did Steve come on your radar? You first took notice of Steve.
We got a real good mutual friend, Mike Correcus, who's one of the number one Verizon guys in the country, Verizon cell phones. But he and Mike are friends. And when Steve was running his clubs up there in Burlington, that's when he came on the radar. We went up to his nightclub a few times, and then found out he did the bodybuilding. He had the gym, he had the tanning studios at that point. So from there, we just kind of hit it off because we both had the bodybuilding in common. But that was probably, I don't know how long ago, 20 years ago.
Adam, it's got to be approaching 20 years.
Yeah.
It's many years because I used to watch you at the shows in early 2000s before I even knew who you were.
Yeah.
Long time ago.
Right.
What was your first business? You say didn't go to college. You just wanted business. What was your first business success? And then after that, I'm going to ask you, what was your first business belly flop?
Okay. So you'll get a kick out of this. 17 years old, turning 18. I'm in the restaurant business with my father. We would throw 2 to 3 parties a year, Larry. And these would have been like, you would have loved these parties. You to bring your whole family. My father and me would throw like a New Year's party locally in Burlington at our restaurant. And you would come eat dinner with your family and then stay for the party. And it was all like a customer appreciation event, very high-end clientele. And we would bring in a basically dinner and dance, either a DJ or live band. And we would set it up in the middle of the restaurant. We'd go all out with ice sculptures and all kinds of things. And we would do all the hors d'oeuvres and everything for free, but it would be open bar, like cash bar. And Larry, we would make more money at those events than we ever would at the restaurants. And on my 18th birthday night, my friends at the time, I'd never been to a nightclub in my life. My friends took me to downtown Greensboro. And Adam, I know, knows this. In Club was the biggest deal at the time.
Yeah.
And I'm talking 1,000 people on a Wednesday night. And my friends took me up there. I walked inside and I'm dead sober. And I have this epiphany that, oh my goodness, this is it. And I literally come home. They were charging $20 a head for underage, $10 for overage. I'm doing the mathematics because I'm a big numbers person. And I came home and I told my dad, this, by the way, is like 3:30 in the morning. My dad's waiting up on me just to make sure I'm okay. And I said, Dad, we've got to open a nightclub. And he's like, what do you mean? I said, like we throw the parties at the restaurant, we've got to do this for a living. Larry, we didn't know nothing about it. A few months goes by. We take over an existing bar and nightclub. We call it Club Kryptonite. The tattoo on my arm is a Superman logo. It was my logo, but we turned it into a K. And within the first 2 weeks, there was nothing around Burlington at the time like what we had. Within the first 2 weeks, we were doing 500 people every Saturday. Absolutely insane. We were making a lot of money. And to answer your question of what flopped, about 9 months after we opened the doors there, we were inside of the hotel and we were doing so many people that they were parking across the street on the busiest road in Burlington, which is Huffman Mill Road. We were getting a lot of complaints. So we hired the police officers to do security because the cars were going everywhere. Well, the hotel pulled the plug on me and my father. And we literally basically lost our nightclub within a year. So it's like, we didn't know what to do. So we went from like huge success to don't have a business. And during that time, my father had sold his part of the restaurant because, Larry, we thought that we had just knocked it out of the park and hit a home run. And I had just bought my first townhome. I did not want to rent. I've never had a roommate. I was trying to be smart. So I had not a big mortgage, but a car payment, motorcycle payment, all these things at 18, 19 years old. And me and my father are both jobless. You talk about not knowing what you're going to do. But if you want me to keep going, I'll keep going.
Keep going.
Okay.
Because here's the thing.
Yes, sir.
You're still the same person. You still
100%.
got all this, history and experience.
Mm-hmm.
You still got that core DNA.
Mm-hmm.
But, when you run, it's like if you'd had super success and this was a super belly flop or tragedy, you still got to do the same thing. You got to keep on going.
100%.
I tell you, I would tell you, you probably would not be here today if that had not happened to you, because the hardest thing to do is to handle that success, especially in the nightclub business. And it's like, I'm better than pretty soon you start to get a little arrogant, a little too much money coming in, and probably it opened up clubs around, all over. And that could have got, it's real easy to see how that could have gone bad.
100%. Larry, it was the best thing that ever happened to me, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
During that time period, if you remember, I'm still working at the gym part-time, 15 hours, 15, 20 hours a week. I'm working a ton of hours at the time. I'm doing 3-4 different jobs. But the nightclub is where I thought was the future, and that was it. Well, it gets shut down, and me and my father, because we know so many people, we were like, oh, we'll just find another building and build it.
Sure.
Larry, that took about a year to get done.
Wow.
I'd saved up a little money, but it was not going to last me long at all. And I told you I made $7 an hour at the gym. So I don't think that's going to go very far either.
Yeah.
So I actually tell people this story because I always tell people you got to turn hardship into a positive. You're going to get nailed in life. A big business owner, something happens every day, and you got to take it in stride. Yeah. And so at that point, though, a good friend of mine who I waited tables with before, he calls me out of the blue and he says, "Are you still working at the gym?" And I was like, "Yeah." He was doing gym promotions in Mooresville, North Carolina. And what they did, they would take a struggling gym and they would do the marketing for the gym and then split it with the percentage of the gym owner. So the gym owner, it was zero cost to them. And they would put a sales guy like myself in the gym to sell the memberships.
Okay.
And Larry, I had never done this. I had just worked at my cousin's little gym selling, but I was always just a natural salesperson. And I was good with numbers and I understood business from my father, but I had never worked for a corporate gym, anything. And he says, I'll never forget, he says, "Steven, base is $500 a week. You're going to live in a hotel room and you're going to make a commission." And I said, "How much is the commission?" He says, "0 if you don't do well, because you had to make enough to pay expenses of the promotion." Yeah. But he said, "You have the potential to make a lot of money." And so I said, "Sign me up." I went the next week to Mooresville and I was there for 3 weeks and learned the gym, and the gym didn't do that well, Larry. It just didn't have the clientele coming in. We done okay. I maybe made a little commission, but on the 3rd week of that gym, they killed the promotion because it wasn't a home run for them at all. It was wrong location. It was nothing I'd done wrong or they'd done wrong. And they said, "We have another one in Massachusetts, Worcester, Massachusetts." I had never been out of Burlington, North Carolina in my life. Mooresville was a long way for me. And at that time, I was
much less even know how to pronounce Worcester.
Larry, I was scared to death. I had a girlfriend. I'm 19 years old. I had a girlfriend who I'm in love with at the time. You don't want to leave your girlfriend. Yeah. But I literally had no choice. And I had to pay this mortgage that I just got. And I was willing to I was raised, you do what you're going to do. I still clean the bathrooms and sweep in my own business every day. I'm not too good to do anything. And so I take it. This was a 60,000 square foot gym, double decker with a Subway, a tanning salon, and a gym. And I go up there, I walk inside, I'll never forget it. And the lady says, "Who are you?" And I said, and she's talking like with the Boston accent. Right. And I'm from Southern North Carolina. And she says, I said, "Oh, I'm here to do your gym promotion." She said, "We're not doing a gym promotion. I canceled it. Get out." Wow. I said, "Ma'am, I just drove 14 hours. I said, "Excuse me?" And I went outside. I called the people I was working for, one of them my friend, and he said, "She's the manager. She does not want this happening. You're good. Go inside and sweet talk her." I'm like,
what?
She wants me to get out.
Sweet talk her.
I walked inside and I remember I said, "Ma'am, I'm here to cause no harm. Your gym, from what I hear, is going to shut down in the next 6 months." I said, "I was brought in. This is a free service to your gym." I said, "I'm just here to work." And I looked her dead in the eyes and I said, "Ma'am, I am broke." And I said, "Our business, mine and my father's, just got shut down. And I'm here to help you and help myself." I said, "Please just give me an opportunity." And she kind of talked to me at that point and realized I was not there to cause any harm. And she basically told me, "I'll give you a few days to set up and see what you can do." So what the gym promotion we'd done there, they had told me they were going to do direct marketing or mailers back then. This is, just so everybody knows, this is the start of 2005. This is 2004 into 2005. And we're in January, like right at the peak season, Adam, you know. Yeah. And Larry, printed flyers on my own till the direct mailers went out. We set up a credit card terminal and our own phone line. That way we could process our own agreements. And I went to every pizza place in the area and I printed 5,000 flyers and traded out a gym membership for the owner if he would just put our flyer, our promotion on each individual pizza box. Pizza is huge there. So I then in turn started going to each individual business and said, "Larry, I'll give you a free gym membership if you sign up at minimum 10 employees. Well, a lot of them took the bait because back then that gym, I think, was like $50 a month. Well, Larry, we're going to give it to you today for $29.99 a month. So it was too good a deal to pass up.
Yeah.
So I instantly got the gym probably 50 members, which for a struggling gym, 50 instantly is a lot.
Yeah.
And so when the direct mailers started going out, we would do 1,000 to 2,000 at a time. And I would drop them in the mail every day. And you're only going to get a small percentage of the direct mailing market. So just so you know, my best day at that gym, I signed up 47 people in one day.
Wow.
Which was unheard of. I was averaging, I think, 10 new members a day. And I was in Massachusetts for, if I remember correctly, about 7 or 8 weeks, which was the longest I'd ever been away from home. And the reason I tell you this story, I think I had brought in the gym $288,000 at the time or something like that. It was a substantial amount of money. And I made a percentage of that money. So it was the most money I'd ever made in my life. And at that point, I knew I need to do something within the fitness world. And the funny thing about it, there was a tanning salon, I had told you, I think, in the gym.
Right.
Well, during the slow time, I was there about 16 hours a day. I would bring my meals or eat whatever and I had nothing to do. I was living out of a hotel room. So I had become friends with the owner and his son. So imagine you and Adam, y'all own a tanning salon in Massachusetts. I had kind of just from being around them for a few weeks, kind of learned the tanning business. And y'all, they're doing 200 tans a day. in Massachusetts. This place is the busiest place you've ever seen.
For those of you who are sick and tired of fooling around and are dead serious about wanting to move up fast, I've got something especially for you. I've combined the best insights from over 40 years in business and making $70 million in income and compressed them into a free webinar. That's right, it's a free resource. If you want to find out exactly what the concepts are that I use in coaching $1 million earners, register now at WeidelOnWinning.com. You'll discover the 5-part framework used by so many to reach their financial, personal, and professional goals. You can find that link in this episode's show notes.
So I picked their brains and I said, when I get home, I'm opening a tanning salon. And I got home, I opened a tanning salon. And it done great. And it just kind of, I'm so thankful that that original nightclub closed because I would have never took this job opportunity to go there. And I'm still thankful for the guys who taught me how to do the promotions because it really set me up to help me do my own gym and gyms around the country. I mean, you know, I've been working in the gyms now almost 25 years. So it's crazy.
Now, are they the ones that gave you the ideas about the mailers and, you know, the pizza, things like that?
Yes, sir. They the mailers was their idea, and they had like, imagine a checklist of like 20 different things that are kind of guerrilla marketing. Go pass out flyers, pizza boxes, all these things. And so they had gave me the ideas, but I was doing a lot of other things too, like a referral program. Hey, Larry, if you bring me 3 people, I'll give you another free month. But what I had done, the manager in me, she loved me by this point.
Right.
So at that point, I had formed a relationship with her that, because it's her business, I'm leaving. It's her business at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So I said, listen, let's do something for you. So if I brought a new member in, she started, which helped me, she started giving them a free protein shake or whatever for referrals, which in turn helped me make commission, but also helped the gym retain a client.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful for those opportunities. So you're right. Every hardship, you're going to have hardships. You've got to make the best out of it. I truly don't think I'd be who I am.
Well, the thing is, you got a chance to meet some people who had some skill sets that, and you're in a situation where they could pass those on to you and you can use those the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
You know, the thing is, a lot of people, you know, like, I don't know how to do this. But there are people out there that know how to do it. If you find them and you can pick their brains, you can use those ideas the rest of your life.
Sure.
And as you came back, you know, full of energy and, you know, kind of, you saw a way through the tunnel. Mm-hmm. And, Adam, when one thing I want to point out, Adam, you know, this comes up from time to time, you know, who you associate with and people, you know, Greensboro was never to us, a high profile, you know, there's supposedly 1 million people in Winston when we went there, you know, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, Winston, High Point, Greensboro, and then Burlington's kind of a little further down the road. You don't really think of that as a world center, but now what's evolved in, like Adam, you know, some of his friends have evolved into, you mentioned Mike Karekas, he's the number one in Verizon in the country. A friend of his, Changi, is the number one with FedEx. You know, they've got that FedEx center out there at the airport, and Changi is like the number one guy there. You built the number one gym equipment business by far, it sounds like. And there's others that have come out of there. But Adam, isn't it interesting that you don't have to be, it's not pretty much the place you're at, but it's the person you are, and you can turn a location like to me, people around the country should be thinking about the fact that here you have somebody in Burlington, North Carolina, it was like the Burlington coat factory. That was what you thought about Burlington, or the replacements, for, they built a nice business there, but you're not thinking about the scale that you're on, but you're only limited by, people make a place special. I guess that's what I want to bring out here. And you don't need to be limited simply because you're not in New York City, you're not in Chicago. It's a matter of what you turn it into. And so, I want to get into these other businesses, but
sure.
Adam, what stands out to you about what Steve's done, and what do you think he knows that we should dig into?
Well, I mean, just the fact that he has turned that his hobby and his passion into basically the biggest new and used gym equipment supplier in the world. Because there's a lot of big ones, there's a lot of companies, but he is basically for the most part, he's basically Amazon for gym equipment. He sells all the different, anything gym related, he sells. And I was watching the video, I didn't even realize it, but it makes sense. But he not only sells equipment, but he sells, what all do you sell? You sell mats, you sell lockers, you sell floor.
Yeah, we're a huge distributor, Adam. I don't even hardly advertise it, but it kind of just comes with the territory. Huge rubber floor dealer, because every gym needs rubber floor.
Yeah, I saw that on your YouTube.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So he's basically created, literally the Amazon of the fitness equipment industry right there in Burlington, North Carolina.
Yeah. And how did you, was this just a natural evolution? Like, we need to add this, how do you learn what you don't know? How do like with gym equipment, how many lines do you carry? There's a lot of lines of equipment, but it's not an unlimited number of high-end lines.
To answer your question, Larry, I'm going to go back a little bit because I think this would help you understand me a little bit. When I opened my gym in Burlington, I'll tell you a little backstory. I didn't have much money. I had about $10,000 to $12,000 and a motorcycle, and I traded a former Mr. Georgia my motorcycle and that money for the start of my gym. And it's a crazy story, and I won't get into it. But when I opened the gym, this is during, I opened in 2006, the gym, and very little, but I had big desires and aspirations, and I'm going to do big things. I just don't know how I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And during that time, I realized real fast, I don't have enough money to do what I want to do as far as like open a gym. And It started out one-on-one training. And in 07, 08, the economy started crashing, if you remember.
Yeah.
And I had just went through all the nightclub stuff and, a few years earlier, and that didn't really scare me. And I think I had nothing to lose at that point. And I was so into bodybuilding. I'm traveling to any hardcore gym there is around. I'm going, and I'm an equipment nerd, and I'm researching Nautilus by Arthur Jones from 1970s.
Right.
And I'm going to the gyms and talking to people. Oh, I used to be one of Ronnie Barnes' gyms, or this or that, and all these things. Like, I'm going to all gyms. We have a place in Burlington that was called Winner's Gym.
Right.
And I'm picking that owner's brain, and who I've become friends with. He now lives at my gym. And so during that time, when I opened my studio, a coffee shop next door to me had closed. And November, December hit, and I had lost most of my training clients. And I went to my landlord and I said, "Sir, what are you doing with that space next door?" And he said, "Nothing." And he had 3 people pull out of my complex. And he says, "How's the gym doing?" And I said, "Not good." And just so you know, this man's name was Tom Lindley. He was in his 70s, and he gave me my first lease off because he knew my father. Very wealthy in my town, and great man. I learned a lot from him. And when I asked him about it, I said, not good. He said, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to go bigger. He said, what do you mean? I said, I'm going to open my gym now to membership. I'm going to do the first 24/7 gym in Burlington. He looked at me, and Larry, I think he saw himself in me, but years younger. Yeah. And he said, here's the keys. When you open the doors, he said, pay me my first month rent. But till then, don't pay me nothing. No contract, Larry. No nothing. I don't think he had nothing to lose, and I didn't have nothing to lose. And he knew my background. My family's never not paid a bill or anything like that. So he knew he would get paid.
What gave you the instinct? What gave you the instinct that was the move to make? You'd lost, you were on a losing streak. And obviously, if you'd known before how to turn it around, you would have. So what led to the losing streak, would you say?
Man, Larry.
Just economy, things like that?
Yeah. At that time, I just literally think I thought I just had to keep going no matter what. If it took 100 hours a week, if the business was going to fail, I was going to sleep at the business. I'm going to sell everything. I'm not going to have a home to live in. I will live at the business to make it, because failure in my eyes is not an option, Larry. Right. It is not an option. I grew up second place is the first last. There was no participation awards. So I was instilled that whatever you do, my father never once told me, hey, Steven, you got to do this. He just said, do what you love, but be the best at it.
Yeah.
So at that point, I opened up, I'd done all this research and opened up my gym, and I got about 50 members, which helped me pay the bills. And I was like, wow. And people really liked it. It was 24/7 swipe card. Like Adam could come lift at 3 a.m. or whatever time of day. And it was very quaint, small, but I didn't have enough money to buy equipment. So the equipment I had, Larry, I started selling a treadmill to go pay for this over here, kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul type thing.
Yeah.
And I realized, without trying to start an equipment business, there is a huge need for commercial fitness equipment. Prime example, my dentist, who is now retired, during that time period, I think in 2007, he came to me and he said, Steven, I'd love to buy an elliptical like you got right there. I said, his name's Dr. Patterson, good friend of mine. I said, Dr. Patterson, I'll get you one. I went and found him an elliptical like mine and sold it to him. But in the meantime, what I'd done to make the money, I sold him that elliptical and replaced it in my gym. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, gym equipment started out, I wasn't doing it to make money. I'd done it. I realized if I could use the equipment in my gym and sell it, even if I broke even and I trained on it for 6 months, I used it for free.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a win-win for me. So I started going around during the recession, whatever you want to call it, the crash of 2008, mom and pop gyms were going out of business everywhere. And I went around and pickup truck and trailer. And I remember still to this day, I was by no means a rich man. People think you got to be rich. I would have $3,000 to $5,000 cash money. And I would go to somebody's gym to buy 2 pieces for $800 a piece, let's say. And I would get there and they would have more pieces. And I would make a bundle deal, Larry, and say, oh, Steven, we'll give you those 10 pieces for $5,000. I'd buy them all, take them back to my warehouse, or I didn't have a warehouse, take them back to my gym, use them in the gym. And if I had 3 bicep curls, I would go sell 1. And that's how the whole business started. And then shortly after that, social media came along.
And how did you see that opportunity?
Okay. So during the nightclub business, I was doing MySpace. Adam, if you remember MySpace at the time. And I was one of the biggest guys on MySpace, Larry, which was like Facebook before Facebook.
Right.
And I was doing big promotions. I was good at marketing. And I was doing huge parties at the nightclub. And I said, why don't I apply this to my gym equipment? And Larry, I'm going to be straight up with you. Craigslist was huge at that time. So when I started to acquire more pieces, I started putting ads on Craigslist. And let me tell you what I did. I feel like a story paints a picture. I would much rather listen to a podcast like this and hear someone's story. It resonates with me.
Right.
Versus just hearing other things, or when you can feel somebody's energy and passion, it just makes a difference. And so during that time period, I went and I'm like, oh, I'm going to start Craigslist. And I start putting one ad, one turns to two turns to three. Well, I had it in my head that I had to do 25 every night, Larry. And I would write out a detailed, like everything about a piece, where it came from. This came from Larry's gym. He bought it brand new during the recession. I went and purchased the whole gym, whatever it may be. And those stories resonated with people. Well, I would start waking up and pray. I would pray for one phone call. One phone call turned to 2. 10 Craigslist ads turned to 25. Now I have 500 at all times on Craigslist. I had 12 accounts at one time because it started flagging me. So I would stay up till like 4 o'clock in the morning doing these Craigslist ads. Well, during that time, I had no website. So I created a Facebook, Larry, to send people I started tagging the Craigslist with the Facebook. I had created Facebook for Superfitness gym equipment. 6 months, Larry, goes by, not one person called on that Facebook. And it kind of, when you don't see the results and you're putting in the work, it sucks.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget this. This was like the aha. This is probably 2011, 2010, somewhere in there, many years ago. I get a phone call off the Facebook. My first one. I'm so excited. He says, hey, I'm looking at your Facebook. So I got it all the time. I'm looking at Craigslist. Yeah. I'm trying to, because I knew Craigslist may fade out. Facebook was the new boom.
Right.
And I said, yes, sir, can I help you? And he said, I saw you posted that inner outer thigh machine. I said, yes, sir. Before this, we were pickup truck trailer bringing it to you. Yeah. I didn't know anything about shipping.
Yeah.
And he says, how much is the piece? And I said, $1,000. I'm just using this as an example.
Right.
He says, okay, I'll take it. Can you give me a shipping quote? Larry, I don't even have a clue. I said, sir, I've never shipped. He said, well, can you put it on a pallet for me and ship it to me? I don't have time to come down there. He's in Pennsylvania. Well, I'm looking, he's like 8 hours from me. I'm like, oh God, how am I going to get it to Pennsylvania? I'm like, okay. We call up FedEx at first. We realize you don't call FedEx for stuff like this.
Right.
So I did some research. We put this thing on a pallet. We set up a business account for one of the shippers. We shipped this thing to them. This is no lie. The thing, we didn't strap it down to the pallet good.
Oh, no. Oh,
Larry,
no.
The thing falls over. He sends me photos on the pallet, scratched up, over all this stuff. He calls me and he said, Steven, I'll never forget it. He said, Steven, I turned it back on its side. I fixed it. It's got a couple scratches, but it's okay. You saved me $3,000. Wow. He said, I'll call you again. I'm going to need more pieces. And Larry, the light bulb went off. And I said to myself, if I can sell pieces locally, North and South Carolina, if I can ship around the world, I can create something here. But I got to find the inventory. I need the infrastructure. I need box trucks. I need the warehouse. I need forklifts. I had nothing. And that's when I went gung-ho. I'm talking more Craigslist ads, more Facebook, created the website. I got a screenshot the other day, and this was a big deal for the time. In 2017, my Facebook hit 117,000 followers. That was a big deal for a little business in Burlington, North Carolina.
Wow.
People before this, locally, they would make fun of me. They would say, what are you selling that junk for? What are you this for? Or they would just say, oh, he owns the gym. Like you're just a gym. And I'm sitting here making more money selling gym equipment than I've ever made at the nightclub. But what I'm doing, if I made 5,000, 10,000, Larry, I'm going and buying 10,000 of inventory. I took nothing, just enough to live. That's it. And I kept investing back. I bought my first box truck for, I think, $10,000 or $12,000 many years ago. It was a POS. But it got the job done. Like, I have so many stories of like the high road, robbing Peter to pay Paul, swiping my own credit card, putting cash in the bank off the credit card, going and getting the cash to buy more equipment, like living life on the edge. But at the same time, knowing deep in my heart, Larry, that I'm not going to fail because failure is not an option. I'm going to make it. Yeah. And during that time, I started getting more people recognize me. I start getting more phone calls. I start getting, oh, you got this. And I was getting such good deals. I was taught years ago to hit singles. Yeah. Never rip somebody off. Be a man of your word. Nobody minds a man making money. That's fine. But nobody, especially rich people, nobody wants to be ripped off. I don't want to be ripped off. I can't stand when somebody says, oh, you're rich, Steven. Here's a FU price. I think that's crazy. So I always was very fair. And I sold equipment many years ago to a man at my warehouse. And he said to me, Larry, he looked at me and he said, Steven, never feel bad for how much money you made on me. And I said, what do you mean? I didn't make that much money. And he said, I don't care how much you made. And I said, okay, why'd you say that? And he said, Steven, you saved me over $2,000 that I was about to purchase that elliptical for my wife. He said, I don't care if you made $200, $500, you saved me X. Yeah. And I realized real fast, you make money on the buy. In a real estate investor, if they buy right, they can sell right. So I buy now in such bulk that some people still question, like, Steven, how are you doing this? And that's where the research from a young kid helped. I knew the old pieces from the new pieces. And just like Adam knows the good pieces from the bad, meaning he's trained on it. Right. He knows, oh, this kills your knees. That piece sucks. Well, my clientele, they know too. And the only reason, Larry, I know, because I was a competitive bodybuilder. I trained on it too. So I just think years and years of the research of this or that literally propelled this business to something I couldn't even have dreamed of, honestly. Yeah.
Unbelievable. Adam, do you have something you want to jump in with?
Steve, I want to make sure you give them, they know what's the YouTube channel they can go to hear the whole story. Cause I watched that on the plane the other day, actually. But what's your YouTube?
The YouTube is Superfitness Gym Equipment, and the Instagram is Superfitness Gym Equipment, Superfitness Gym Equipment as well. And then most of it's tagged under Steven Harvalias as well under the Instagram.
Now,
Facebook, it's all Superfitness Gym Equipment.
On the Instagram, did they ever get rid of the fake account, or is that still out?
Well, and not really, Adam, but it's become much better. I think they're almost disabled now, but I haven't heard anything in about 3 months, meaning I haven't heard from anybody saying that I'm getting faked. So I hope so. I don't know.
So there was an
How does that
account.
hurt you?
There was an account for years set up. I guess it's still there. Spelled everything almost looked identical, and this guy was selling gym equipment. People were giving him money and never getting the equipment, claiming to be him and not. So, how can they? What is the Instagram to make sure they get the right one and don't get swindled by the fake one?
Pull right up, but it's Superfitness_gym_equipment. That's the way it's worded on the Instagram, Adam.
And on that fake one, there's like 2 R's or something.
Usually there's always like 2 underscores, 2 R's where it looks almost the same, but it's not spelled the same.
And then if they want to get in touch with you, the only number they call you has the area code of what?
336.
If it's not a 336 area code, that's not you. That's a scam.
Yeah. Correct.
Yeah.
So
Correct.
how much did it piss you off, and how did you get yourself adjusted to that mentally? When you got scammed like that.
Larry, I had a lot of big name people call me that was like, to protect me. They were like, what do you? I'll be honest with you, Larry, I didn't know what to do. I was like, do I voice my reason of concern on Instagram or YouTube? Do I don't say nothing? I said nothing at first till I got a call from a person who knows me, who had my cell phone, that says, hey, Steven, when can I pick up that standing lateral race? I got the text. I instantly called. And I said, what standing lateral? I haven't had the one that they were talking about in probably 5 years. They said, the one you posted on your Instagram. I said, I didn't post one on my Instagram. And Larry, I kid you not, they had bought this piece for like $1,000 that probably would go for $4,000 to $5,000. Too good a deal.
Yeah.
And they had Zailed a Muhammad. I'm not a Muhammad. And I was blown away at the lack of common sense. And they had my cell phone. So long story short, this was over a year ago. I went to Instagram at that point, and I started making videos and putting it under the highlights, because they were not just doing it to me. They were doing it to many other companies, faking these companies, faking influencers, faking all kinds of things. And I just addressed it, says, listen, if it's not my voice, we bank at First Bank in Burlington, North Carolina. I just gave people the tools they needed to hear, so that if they use a little common sense. And I basically just said, if a piece is supposed to sell for $3,000 and somebody tells you 800, it's too good a deal to be true.
Right.
And so hopefully it's gotten better, but I'm going to be honest with you, Larry. I think things are probably going to get worse in that regard. Not for me, but there's just people faking stuff all around the world.
Yeah. It's just too easy to cheat.
Yes, sir.
And so as you are robbing Peter to pay Paul and putting everything back into business, how long did that take before you got your volume up? There's a lot of times in Greensboro where, we lived where I lived almost 30 years. Adam's still up in the area, that, gyms, they'd open up a few. There was the Ronnie Barnes gym, and then there was Pyramid of one or two others. And then they would kind of flatten out and then go away and get stale. And then it was kind of like the gym business is fizzling out. But I mean, there's gyms everywhere now. I mean, it's unbelievable. There's like super gyms everywhere. And how did you know, or what were you just betting on the come that there'd be an explosion of gyms like this?
Larry, I don't know if I had like an inclination, or if I'm just that hard-headed, or if I'm just that crazy. Some very big name people in the world that follow me now, millions of followers on social media.
Yeah.
That, like, one, for instance, he only follows like 200 people, and I'm one of them. It's just crazy to me. And he asked me through Instagram Messenger. He was like, you gotta be crazy to do what you do, or have balls of steel one. And I was like, I think I am a little crazy in a sense, but I'm just so passionate about fitness, and I'm so happy to see so many people taking fitness and seriously, if that makes sense. Old or young, I just truly feel like you don't have to go to a gym, but I feel like fitness should be somewhat of a foundation. If you woke up in the morning and you go for a walk around the neighborhood, things like that are so important, and people miss the boat on that. But with the gym equipment side of things, I kid you not, I just started focusing on what I could control, Larry.
Right.
And I think in business sometimes, I knew I did not need every gym in America. I just needed my own customers. People used to say to me, well, Steven, how are you going to compete with the manufacturers? How are you going to compete with corporate America, this, that?
Right.
And I always said, I'm just going to be me. I'm going to provide the very best customer service. If something goes wrong, I'm going to take care of it. And I truly feel like honesty goes such a long way, and it's a lost art form, and loyalty goes such a long way in life. I'm still doing business literally over 15 years later with some of my customers that were nothing at the time. And now they own, Larry, 7, 8, 10 gyms.
Thank you for listening to part 2 of this episode of the $1 Million Mastermind podcast. Timing is everything. You may feel that now is a time to get moving forward so you can do something even greater with your life. Now, if that sounds like you, I've got a free training video to show you how that transformation can take place. Getting introduced to how the cycle of success works has been a major transforming event for so many current $1 million earners. And that's exactly what this video is all about. And yes, it's completely free. Join us at the video at weidelonwinning.com. And thanks for being part of our community.